Welcome back, dear children. This is what is the slide where we left last, isn't it? A pint of sap from a 4,000-year-old bristle cone pine. All these, for what they are searching? They want to prepare or invent a drink which will convert the youngest to the oldest, right? The toenail clipping, can you able to see a very big toenail here from a 168-year-old, not normal ages, 168-year-old Russian farmer. Is it possible? Let us try how it is going on, right? Called Petrovich Grigorovich. That is the name of the Russian farmer, right? Next, the next thing which he needs is an egg laid by a 200-year-old tortoise belonging to the king of Tonga. So this is a small egg. I don't know whether it is 200-year-old or not. Just for you to show as an example, I clicked that egg. A tortoise is coming out now, right? A tale of a 51-year-old horse in Arabia. So can you able to see a beautiful horse here with a tail? Usually I thought of taking a white horse only, but this seems a little bit different. I saw white horse, black horse. This seems to be different. So I took this picture. See how beautiful the tail of the horse is, right? So the tail of a 51-year-old horse in Arabia. Then the whiskers. Whiskers, you know, the hairs near the mouth. Whiskers of a 36-year-old cat called crumpets. Next, an old flea which had lived on crumpets for 36 years. So, when the dog or cat was born, at that time itself, this flea should be there in the body. What is flea actually? Flea is an insect which is there in the body of dogs and cats, right? Small insect. So, an old flea which had lived on crumpets for 36 years. Right? The tail of, next is the tail of 207-year-old giant rat from Tibet. So, all these he needs to prepare a Vita Wonk. Wonka Vita. Let us see what is the name. The black teeth of a 97-year-old grimalkin living in a cave on Mount Popocatépetl. So what is grimalkin actually? See, when I am searching for the word grimalkin, grimalkin is an old word for a domestic cat. So you all know cat. Why it is called as grimalkin? Especially on the elderly female one, they are saying the word grimalkin. It was often used when women were tried on as witches and accused of using cats as familiars. Even Shakespeare used it in Macbeth. This term grimalkin was used by Shakespeare in Macbeth when one of the three witches referred to a familiar who takes the form of a cat as Graymalkin. Graymalkin, it's now Grimalkin. It's a older female cat. Okay, that is what is Grimalkin. Next is the knuckle bones of a 700-year-old cataloo from Peru. So what is cataloo? So all these terms seems to be little bit different, isn't it? So cataloo is a crossbreeding between a cow and a buffalo. So it cannot be called as a cow, it cannot be called as a buffalo. So because it is different from both. It will not be, seems to be like a cow, it will not be like a buffalo also. So the term used is cataloo. Okay, it can only be called as cataloo. That is how cataloo came into existence, right? So this is part 1 of your of your lesson. Next, we'll come to part 2. All over the world, Charlie, Mr. Onka went on. I tracked down very old and ancient animals and took an important little bit of something from each one of them. A gray of an eyebrow, or sometimes it is no more than an ounce or two of the jam scrapped from between its toes while it was sleeping. So I tracked down the whistle pig, the bobolink, the stork, the polyfrog. All these are animals you can see here, right? All these animals pictures are given very, very abnormal, not normally available, right? So the giant curlicue, the stinging slug, and the venomous squirrel, who can spit poison right into your eye from 50 yards away. See how long it was. So, but there's no time to tell you about them all now. Charlie is saying so many other ingredients are there. Now it is not time. There's no time to tell you all these now. Let me just say quickly that in the end, after lots of boiling, see how everything, all the ingredients are there boiling and bubbling and mixing, then testing in my inventing room. So I produced one tiny cupful of oily black liquid and gave 4 drops of it to a brave 20-year-old Oompa Loompa. He's only Oompa Loompa volunteer. He's a volunteer to see what happened. Okay, he's a testing piece for. Okay, so what did happen? Charlie asked. Oh, it was fantastic, cried Mr. Onka. Right, the moment he swallowed it, only 4 drops he gave. The moment he swallowed it, he began wrinkling, wrinkles around the face. He began wrinkling and shriveling up all over, and his hair started dropping off, and his teeth started falling out. And before I knew it, he had suddenly become an old fellow of 75, right? And thus, my dear Charlie was Vita Wonk invented. So, what is the name of the drink? Vita Wonk. So, Vita Wonk is a drink which will convert the younger to older, right? And Onka Vita, that is what first line of this lesson. Onka Vita will convert the older to the younger, right? So this story was written by Roald Dahl from Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator, right? I hope the story was very interesting and you'll understand the story in a better way. Just go through the lesson. If you have any doubt, you just call me. We'll see the summary and the comprehension text. So, the invention of Vita Wonk by Roald Dahl. We know about him. 13th September 1916, he was born, right? He died on 23rd November 1990. And the movie is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, right? Short story, The Landlady Lamb to the Slaughter. So, summary, Mr. Willy Wonka was a scientist. He first invented a tonic, Wonka Vita, which made people younger. Okay, but it was such a powerful medicine that many people disappeared after that age went in minus. So, one person even became minus 87. The poor fellow had to wait 87 years to come back again. So Willy Wonka decided to invent a new thing to undo the harm. Okay, what harm he did, that he wanted to undo it. So he had to make people old. He wanted to know what is the oldest living thing in the world, and what lived longer than anything else. Suppose if your human normal age is 60, now 60, Before it was 70, 80, 100 also, but he wants 168 year old. His assistant Charlie named Tree. He said trees, he suggested, but the question emerged, which tree? Certainly not fir, oak or cedar. It was a tree called bristlecone that grew in Nevada, USA. Such trees were 4,000 year old. Wonka got it into his great glass elevator and rushed all over the world. He collected special items from the oldest living things. Whatever oldest he seems, everything he collected. He took a pint of sap from bristlecone tree pine and the toe-nail clippings from a 168-year-old Russian farmer, an egg laid by 200-year-old tortoise, the whiskers of a 36-year-old cat, and so on. So that is how collections was made. So what happens in part 2? Mr. Onka tracked down very old animals and took a bit of something from each of them. In the end, he boiled and tasted the product in his inventing room. He produced one small cupful of black liquid. He gave only 4 drops of it to a brave young volunteer Oompa Loompa to see what happened. What was the result? Charlie asked. Mr. Onka said that the effect of the medicine was swift and fantastic. Swift means very fast and fantastic. The moment that young man gulped down these drops, he began growing old and wrinkled. His hair dropped off and his teeth started falling out. In an instant, the 20-year-old boy became an old man of 75. In this way, Vita Wonk was invented. Right? Now, part 1, comprehension check. Choose the correct answer. Mr. Willy Wonka is a cook, inventor, manager, an inventor. So the solution is given here. An inventor. Wonka Vita makes people older or younger? Younger. Wonka Vita makes people younger. Mr. Wonka wants to invent a new thing which make people older. He wants to invent, right, in part 1. Can anyone's age be a minus number? What does minus 87 mean? No, age cannot be in minus because we all start growing up from the moment we are born. Minus 87 means a man is 87 years back to his normal age. That is what is mentioned there. So Mr. Omka begins by asking himself 2 questions. What are they? What is the oldest thing in the world? What lives longer than anything else? Right? So this is part 2. What trees does Mr. Wonka mention? Mr. Wonka mentions fir, oak, cedar, bristlecone pine trees lives the longest. How long? 4,000 years. Bristlecone pine lives for 4,000 years and one can find them upon the slopes of Wheeler Peak in Nevada, USA. How many of the oldest living things can you remember from Mr. Wonka's list? Oh God, this is really tough because he listed so many things. So children, refer your book and refer this and write the questions on your own. Second question is this. Why does Mr. Wonka collect items from the oldest things? Do you think this is the right way to begin his invention? He wanted to create an item that will make people older. So he collected all these. In fact, it is a foolish way to begin an invention, but it was successful, right? So what happens to the volunteer? He became 75 years old, right? Working with language, dear. So you have to write the names of all these, not in your classwork. That's our classwork was till 4th question. That's it. So practice, children. Thank you so much. Time is up and you write on your own, dear. all these things in your book. Thank you so much.